afterwards. So. But anyways,
Facts.
we'll get rid of this ugly image. I think I sent approved images. So Jeff's been begging me for the past few weeks to come and talk about my podcast, and I finally said okay. So this right here, I mean, I'm sure you see it if you follow me on social media. This is Jacob Kersey program. It's a podcast I started about 6 years ago. It's a really long time. If you go back 6 years, you're not going to find any audio because one of the most common questions I get is, well, how'd you get into podcasts? And honestly, I don't know. I kind of fell into it. It was my first smartphone ever. I bought it at Walmart for like $45. One in my pocket's like $1,300. But anyways, I bought my first smartphone for $45 and found this app where you could record your voice and it would create these things called episodes. And you could turn these episodes into a thing called a podcast. I'm like, wow, this is so cool. So I shared it with some friends and they were awful. And finally I had some really good people in my life come in and say, hey, you know, this really sucks. But if you want to do this, let me show you how to do it. So they gave me some valuable resources, gave me some training, and the Jacob Kersey program has just been a really big success. Biggest thing, or another question I get is, well, how do you meet so many people? How do you have so many people on the show? And one of those things is just networking. So for all you young professionals out there, biggest thing is attend conferences, attend meetings, and network and meet people. Don't be afraid. Be confident in yourself and what you bring to the table, and be willing to sit down and listen and have a conversation. So next slide, please. So the Jacob Kersey program, we've had, you know, governors, we've had senators, congressmen, TV hosts, actors. We've had a NASCAR driver on the show, all this fun stuff. How many of you seen the movie God's Not Dead? Or raise them of your hand. All right, cool. So perhaps you remember the college professor in that movie. Kevin Sorbo is the actor, and he's been on the show a couple times as well. We've also had Jeff on the show as well. And Tim, don't want to forget Tim. Jeff and Tim did an episode with me not so long ago. But I wanted to show you this image because I want you to kind of see the range of impact that you know the Lord's allowed me to have with this podcast. This gentleman here is Alan Santos. He's actually a TV host and journalist in Brazil. And when I did a episode with Lawrence Jones, he works at Fox News. He's one of their anchors. And when I did this episode, I got back to my hotel room that night, and I saw my social media was blowing up, and saw that in Brazil, this gentleman here had posted about the difference between Brazilian journalists and American journalists, which I think is just so incredible that people from other countries can see how journalism and how freedom of speech works here in this nation as compared to others. So that's really cool. And then I guess we'll go to the next slide. I can't remember what I said. And the final question I want to answer is just, well, why do you do it? Why do you do your podcast? You're a Christian. Why are you doing a podcast and not some sort of a ministry? And my response is, well, I think the podcast is a ministry. And yes, I am involved with politics. I know some people don't think Christians should be involved with politics. And this is the reason I put the image up, is because, does anyone know what that's a map of?
North Korea.
Korea. So it's Korea. And yes, as Kim pointed out, that is the capital, Seoul, of South Korea. But this is a satellite image that shows you the prosperity in South Korea as opposed to North Korea. And the biggest difference between these two countries is politics. There's a lot of light in South Korea, and you can share the gospel there in South Korea. In fact, there's I know people who have actually lived in South Korea because of the military. People there are, you know, there's a lot of Christians, very religious. They share the gospel, and in fact, they use the freedom that they enjoy in South Korea to share the gospel with those in North Korea to the best of their ability by getting things over the border. But in North Korea, you see it's full of darkness. So if you wonder why I think we should be involved in our communities, and both locally, state, and federally, is because we've been given such a great gift here in America with the freedoms that we enjoy and with the ability to vote and be involved and let our voices be heard. And so we have to be a good steward of everything that God has given us, including the system of government we have here and we enjoy. And as you can see, light thrives in a nation with freedom. Darkness is the result of a nation that suppresses freedom. So that's the reason I do what I do. If you want to connect with the Jacob Kersey program, you can just look it up. I mean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you name it. It's available on all those platforms. And I'm at Real Jacob Kersey across social media, so you can connect with me there if you don't already. But thank you, Jeff, for this opportunity. And I actually have to head out because I got drilled this weekend with the National Guard. So I got to go run. But I appreciate this opportunity. It's great seeing you all.